Thank you very much, Joanne Newton and the music department of the Center for Spiritual Living. Thank you very much. And it's particularly nice for me to see two young adults on the stage, Becca Kelly and Tyler Hunsaker. We're expanding the age range on our stage. You know, it's so important to stay in touch with life, to have wisdom from every part of the age range. And I found these two, as well as last week's young adult, in our young adult group that meets on Sundays after the third service. And I hunted them down relentlessly until I got them on the stage. You know, that's how you do it. Yeah. Because you know what happens is when young people, they get a license and then they're gone to explore the world, you know. And so we experience this loss of that wisdom of the young mind. And to tell the truth, the young mind benefits from those of us who have been around the sun a few times. So that interaction helps us be rich and wonderful, and I like that. And I love that the music department once again found a way to come up with music that is a commentary on our topic. Our topic this morning is From Chaos to Clarity. Wow. Oh, good morning, beautiful people of the center. Hi. I'm Edward. Yeah. And hopefully we'll get to clarity. So talking about things. First of all, I've been hearing from people about our program. You know, this is the wrap-up, and people have been emailing me, and there's my email address. It's very Edward. It's very easy. It's edward@centerforcslsr.org. In fact, all of our staff emails are like that, just the first name, except for our two Marthas. We've got two Marthas, so we had to figure that out. But everybody else is just the first name @cslsr.org. We want you to have easy access to us, and that's how you can get to us. And I've been hearing from people about this practice of journaling with all kinds of questions, and I invite you to write your questions to me also. And I'm going to comment on some of the things I've heard today. But I want to begin with a quote from Anne Frank, who was a great writer of ideas, and won't you read it with me? I want to write, but more than that, I want to bring out all kinds of things that lie buried deep in my heart. And that's exactly what journaling as a spiritual practice will do for us, will help us find what is in there. See, writing is a way of discovering what you really think. It's a way of discovering what is very important to you. And that is really important in our teaching at the center. The Science of Mind is the name of our teaching, and it's all about what is going on in our mind. And it's very difficult to work in the realm of mind if you don't know what is there. So this is a way, journaling is a way of waking up to what is going on in mind and noticing that it's not automatic and that you actually have some creativity and some possibility in that realm, to become aware of that and work in that realm. Additionally, journaling is a way, as a spiritual practice, it's a way for you and I to have a companion on the path, a companion who doesn't judge you. You know, I heard somebody say, and I think he was quoting someone, I don't remember who he was quoting, but we were talking about pastoral care. And he said, no one has truly been listened to. We were talking about that terrific gift we can give to somebody when we listen generously. That's a phrase from Rachel Naomi Raymond, I believe. The idea of listening generously means that when I'm listening to you, I'm not trying to insert my idea. And I'm not trying to teach you or reach you. I'm just taking you in with as much presence and mindfulness as I can. And that is my experience when I journal. I feel like I have a companion who is deeply and generously listening to me without restricting me, without censorship, without layering expectations on my response, with complete freedom. It's a sacred moment. It's very personal, whether it's in a notebook or on an iPad or a Windows 8 tablet or on a loose piece of paper. The experience of slowing down to that right speed, a phrase that Alan Yeager coined, the right speed is so precious and so personal and so private and so holy. And by the way, people who are concerned about using up paper, on iPads and Windows 8 tablets, now they're duplicating the paper journal experience by providing environments that look like you're writing in journals with a stylus. Even on iPads, you can get a stylus and write on your iPad and have that same experience of capturing your slowly created writing in an electronic form. I find that very lovely. So I've been hearing from people talking to me on email and various other ways saying, look, I want to try this journaling as a spiritual practice, but every time I start, I want to get close to it, what happens is something gets in the way. And many people have said the thing that gets in the way comes in the form of their memory of the school experience, where they were corrected. And so before they even write, they're coming to with the experience of, I'm going to get this wrong. I'm going to be corrected. And so there is this separation from the heart experience of writing and this feeling of being criticized even before anything gets on the paper. Does anybody resonate with that? The three people here. I've mentioned before, another one of my passions is to work with people who want to learn how to blog. And so if they contract me to learn how to blog, I spend some time with them, interview them about what their area is of interest, that they want to write about, their passion. And then based on what I learn from them, I give them an assignment because I identify 10 topics for them to write articles on, and I give them the assignment to write those articles within 2 weeks. Now, these are articles that are in their area of interest, what they are passionate about, and more often than not, it's this very assignment that is the deciding point for whether or not they can go forward. Because oftentimes they come back to me and they can't do it. And it's not that they don't have anything to say. They do. Everybody's got something to say. Everybody's got a story. That's what we say here at the center. My mind is the center of divine activity within the mind of God. I have access to an infinite possibility of ideas and creativity, and so on. And yet, there they sit. And I ask them, what is it? And oftentimes they say, well, I'm concerned that I won't get it right, that it won't be good enough, that it won't be interesting, or that people will judge it. Meanwhile, what they're doing is they're judging it before it's created. They are stuck in comparison. They are thwarted by criticism, their own imagined criticism. Well, blogging, it's a modern form of journaling, but just in front of the entire world. And, so it does change the dynamic a bit. It really, raises the exposure. And in that, there are some very powerful benefits, if you just think about it with me for a moment. Some people say that when they start to blog, what it does is it forces them into they tell me, they've got to sort through the chaos of their first draft and come to clarity before they press publish, right? So it forces an organizing mechanism because now it's going out there. And they say they discover something that actually when I go back, I can come to clarity because I do have a brilliant faculty. I can look into my chaos and find my clarity. They find that. Some people say that blogging helps them to have more integrity with what they commit to expressing. Because then and they don't have to do this, but some of them do. They say they start to take responsibility for what they write. Is this an opinion or is it a fact? And if it's a fact, do I know where I got it from? And if it's an opinion, is it expressed beautifully? Because everybody can see it. And it occurred to me that truthfully, you and I could take these ideas and apply them to our private journaling, writing experience, even though they will never be published on the internet. We can still do the same thing. We don't have to, but it's an option. Here's how I use it very effectively. I start with that first messy draft and I write. I don't care about handwriting, what it looks like. Oftentimes I use a very inexpensive notebook to do this first part. I don't worry about incomplete sentences, dangling participles, split infinitives, legibility. I don't care if the ideas are coherent, and I just write it all out. Write fast, as untidily as it needs to be. Vent, especially if there's something that's bothering me, or if I'm sad about something, or if I feel lonely, or if I feel lost, or if I'm stuck in my own self-criticism. Write, get it out. Go to the lowest thought, write it out. And then, before I get to then, let's press the pause button. Story time. Once upon a time, in a land far away, in a different environment where I was working for a corporation that had some personnel problems, it came to pass that I was going to have to negotiate a termination agreement with one of the staff members who was a very high-profile staff member, a public figure. So it was an issue. The stakes were high. It could have gone any way. So being that I was a very young man at the time, I got some assistance in the form of consultation from a personnel agency. And what that consultant said to me changed the game entirely, and I believe caused me to navigate from chaos into clarity with just this little bit of advice. She said to me, I want you to consider that every single thing that you express from now on, whether it is a message left on a voicemail, or if it's an email sent, or if it's something said in person or a memo written, whatever it is, I want you to consider that it is going to be read on primetime television. That changed everything. It changed everything. Oh boy, did I have to bring consideration and mindfulness into play. Did I have to bring the infinite organizing power of that mind into play? Did I have to look into integrity to see if what I was saying is what I meant and whether it was clear and if there were any barbs in it? I had to really look. No more could I just say, well, I'm just expressing myself and leave a fiery emotional message on the voicemail. No longer could I do one of those slash and burn emails. No longer. Something changed, and then the quality of the communication started to represent and communicate what was true and valid. I never forgot that. Now let's go back to journaling and the second draft. Sometimes with this in mind, I go back to what I've already written, and I get me a new, fresh journal and a cup of tea and time and my favorite pen, and I sit with the first draft messy version right here and the pen, and I sit down and I rewrite it as if for public consumption. I'm not going to send it out in the public. I could if I want, but I'm not, and I'm not doing it to sanitize it. I'm doing it to get clear. I sit and I imagine the question, what does this mean? And I write it down that way. And what I discover in that second writing, and then sometimes I do it again, I write it again, and in that rewriting, the story, the evolution emerges all by itself, and clarity and information rises up from the pages, and I save myself a lot of heartache. There is a safe place for the whole range of my expression. When I edit other people's work, I do it on a PC, and I go real fast. Well, it's easy because there are those features: copy, cut, paste. You can move things around. Fabulous. Love that. However, when I'm working with a pen and paper, there's no cut and paste anymore, no copy. So it slows things way down, and I get to be very mindful because now I really have to think about it when I pick up the pen. When I write it, it's committed. Especially if it's in one of those lovely fancy journals, your good journals. You don't want any scratching out of text. You want it to be correct. So I have to think about what it is I write. Sometimes I say the name of our teaching is Science of Mind, and it should be Signs of Mind. Yeah, then I can ask myself, was there any sign that I used my mind? Because that's the journey of evolving into being present for life instead of sleeping through it and then blaming everything because I was messy inside. Journaling helps me fess up. See, my point of view is if you start writing, whatever method you use, rewriting, longhand, fast writing, it's virtually impossible to journal and not find out something about your inner life. You have to be really committed to being asleep. Goodness gracious. Did it go? There we are. George Sand, he wrote these words. Why don't you read them with me? Writing a journal means that facing your ocean, you're afraid to swim across it. So you attempt to drink it drop by drop. See, that's my experience. And journaling has helped me and countless other journalists deal with the increasing complexity of this amazing experience that is called being human, without losing touch with that spiritual component that we are so deeply interested in. So I encourage you not to get bogged down on what it's supposed to be like and how it's supposed to look, and to really devise a spiritual practice out of this that matches you, that feels authentic, because there's no one size fits all. And you know what? And if it doesn't resonate with you, don't do it. Isn't that awesome? Just don't do it. I mean, at the end of the year, we'll have covered 12 spiritual practices, and we can't do all of them every day. We'd have no life left. We'd be so spiritual, we'd be no earthly good. The idea is that at the end of it, you will weave together something that represents your journey so that you'll know what you do to express and connect with your spiritual self. And some months will resonate more than others. One lady said, I'm still on gratitude. I'm going to stick with that for a while. One lady said, I can't take another journal of any kind, no booklet of any kind. So we are self-monitoring in our journey. This is information for the journey. Another stumbling block that people come across when they are working with me on blogging, when they're learning to blog, is the distraction of what it looks like on the outside. Oh, that gets to people. Sometimes they'll spend all kinds of time on the template, on what it looks like when people get to their page. They want to choose the right color scheme. Does it match their eyes? Does it reflect their message? I don't know what they're looking for. But in the end, they get so bogged down that they never get to write the first article. That's like people who spend hours and hours buying the journal and never open it. When it comes to blogging, I have this friend, a brilliant writer, and actually he set up a blog, and in the process of setting it up, he exhausted himself in creating a super good-looking blog. And there it is. It's got exactly one post for 2 years now. But it looks good. It looks very, very good. Some of the most popular blogs, some of the most popular web spaces don't look like anything at all. But they are popular because they have content, they have opinion, they have heart, they have controversy, they have point of view, they are real. And that's a life lesson for all of these spiritual practices we're studying. So far we've studied prayer and meditation, selfless services, coming, all of these things, gratitude. It's not so much what they look like on the outside when we're doing them. It's the content, the realness, the authenticity, the life that we bring to it. If you're not in the practice, it's just a labor. I mentioned last week that I had recently returned from Bali, where I took another group, another Center for Spiritual Living, to visit. And in Bali, anybody can worship in almost any temple on the condition of sincerity. So you may not have all the proper outer garments. You may not even know all the proper movements or all the steps or what you're supposed to do in the prayer ceremony. But if you're sincere, then your offering is considered acceptable. And who can police that? Only you. So they don't tend to police it. So when you come to journaling, bring yourself and find yourself in your sincerity. If you come to prayer, bring yourself to it and find yourself in your sincerity. Storytelling, part 2. Once upon a time in a land far away, I started studying metaphysics, very much in a center just like this one. And in those days, the names of the classes were different, but for the sake of contemporary names, I'll use them. So I started at the beginning, and I took the class Beyond Limits. And then I took the second class, Spiritual Practices for Daily Living. Then I took the third class, Self-Mastery, and so on. These are our certificated classes, and they form part of a larger education program. When you've got enough of these credits, you can enroll for the Professional Prayer Practitioner Licensing Program, which I wanted to do very badly. I liked the idea. Anyway, as you can imagine, once I enrolled in the course of Professional Prayer Practitioner to be licensed, a lot of the course's focus was on our form of affirmative prayer, which is called spiritual mind treatment. So we got to say them and speak them and to become familiar with them, to embody them, to know how to do them. And so all along, I was listening to other people and picking up phrases that worked for me and gathering in all the flowery and beautiful language until I got to a point where I could do it well. And the words would just come. Beautiful. And then as part of the training, one of the things they do is match the students up with prayer partners. Oh, you don't even have to be in class to use this fantastic device, a prayer partner. So you sit together, you give me your prayer request, I say a prayer, I give you mine, you say a prayer for me. Awesome. So at one point in the journey, they match me up with a scientist, a doctor, and a research doctor, and we do our prayer exchange in the first sitting. I ask him for his request. He gives it to me. Oh, like a bouquet of flowers. And so it is. Now it's my turn. I give him my prayer request, and he says, God is all there is. I am one with God. Everything is in its right place. I accept this with gratitude, and so it is. Where are the words? Where are the flowers? The thing is, over time, I got to realize he was just bringing his authentic, clear self to the table. He didn't need the words. The thing is, I realized over time, his prayers were very effective. I started to seek him out after the class. And he'd say, I don't need the words. In fact, I don't really understand the words when you're saying what you say, and I just trust that you do. Right? Wow. So I started to place my confidence more and more on the feeling of connection and the sincerity. So I don't mind now if when I'm praying I can't find the right phrase, or I lose my place, or I stop mid-sentence, or if I go to somebody and they're praying for me and they don't appear to know the correct number of steps. I don't care. I'm tuning in for something else. The trust that he had in my diversity, I want to have that same trust. I want to trust you that in your prayer work, that you have your value on your own feeling of authenticity. This really helped me. It helped me feel my own relationship with divinity. I found it in being authentic and not copying. So I want you to consider this, if you will. Spiritual practices, your spiritual practice, whatever your spiritual practices are, they ought to be the activities in which you feel the most free and the most authentic. Spiritual practice is where we are supposed to be expressing ourselves with the most freedom, from the truth of our being, with the most authenticity. So spiritual practices, we're supposed to be the least inhibited, not the most self-conscious. And that is pretty much how I feel about journaling, because it's the place in my life where I can be uninhibited and express myself freely. It's where I can really be myself. So I can really let it pour out without any sense of competition, complaining, comparison, criticism, not needing to please anybody, not needing to fit in. And in that freedom, really finding, so that it's a journey not so much of fitting in or excusing myself or trying to earn merit or acceptance. Unfortunately, in my job, I get to write a lot. I suppose it's fortunate too. I write reports, I write booklets, I write emails, I write web content, and as a result, my own personal writing tends to be put on the back burner and gets tended to last. And sometimes even forgotten for whole months at a time, sometimes years. And yet, over time, I've noticed that at the moments of my most severe challenges, my most soul-shattering disturbances, that my first reflex is to reach for a journal, a book. It can even be a cheap notebook like this, a composition book, to reach for it and to sit down and come back to my old friend writing. And it's like an old friend. You might have had an argument with an old friend. You might have gone out of touch for a while, and you come back, and it's as if all of the love rushes back into the first uninhibited, undefended greeting. And then I write, and right there, I remember of how many times it has helped me find my way from chaos to clarity. Like the words of the song that we heard Joanne sing, and I scribbled them down somewhere in here when she was singing. The whole world is talking and drowning out my voice. How can I hear myself with all this noise? And all of this confusion just disappears when I find a quiet place where I can hear one clear voice calling out for me to listen. It's my experience of writing. So when I'm stuck, or when I'm confused, when I don't know, when I'm troubled, when I'm lonely, or when I'm grieving, there's something about writing without a deadline, without rules, without restrictions, that gets the process moving. And it's like that with all spiritual practices. If I'm feeling restricted or constricted or lacking, there's nothing like practicing giving to get stuff moving. Or if I'm feeling separated or disconnected from people or feeling worthless, there's nothing like selfless service to help me feel my connection with other people in the world and organization. That's why we are so interested in spiritual practice. And in a way, it's deeply selfish. But when we are filled up, then from that fullness, the overflow, that gift to the world is beautiful, because then we have no need to control each other with our gift. Journaling has taught me how to value my own opinion. It has taught me how to take responsibility when it's appropriate for me to take responsibility. And it's taught me also how to question my thinking, and very importantly, how not to be fearful about sadness, about fear, about negative thinking, about aloneness, about new beginnings, etc., because it's given to me a safe place to encounter all of this and to move through it with dignity and hope. Much of what I say today is inspired by the writing of Stephanie Dowrick, who is a teacher from Australia on journaling. And this is something of what she says about journaling, and I invite you to read it with me. Journal writing can make you grateful for the life you are living, with all its complexity. It can make you laugh, seethe, cry, howl, rejoice. It can bring life to your artist's soul. It can make you honest. It can give you a greater sense of choice about how you are living your life. Now, next month, we are shifting our focus to selfless service as a spiritual practice, service as a spiritual practice, volunteering as a spiritual practice. And on Wednesday evening, we're currently printing them right now, we will have available for you the booklet to guide you through that. So on Wednesday evening, this free spiritual resource will be handed out. If you can't make the Wednesday evening service, you can still download the booklet starting on Wednesday from our website for free, www.cslsr.org, under the Files for You section on the right-hand column. Or if you prefer to purchase a copy, you can get it at the bookstore starting next Sunday. What is really lovely about this month's booklet is that there's a large part of it that is written by people like you, with testimonials about how service has impacted their understanding of unity in the world, with space and reflection opportunities underneath each one for you, as well as short essays on the concept of service, seva, which is the Sanskrit word for selfless service, and volunteering in general. So we're going to be having a whole bunch of fun next month as we get into service. Okay? Right. Let's pray. I invite you to take a breath in with me and to exhale, letting your eyes close if that is appropriate for you to do so, and letting your mind begin to consider the concept of divinity in whichever form is appropriate to your path. I like to think of the intelligence from which all of creation emerges, that which is at the center of everything, but itself is limitless, endless, never beginning, never ending. And some of us call that God. Some of us call it the thing itself. Some of us have no name for it. It's just a felt experience. And whatever it is, I invite you today to feel your kinship with it. So I abandon the distant deity of my childhood in this moment, and I think of something that is in and through me, and in and through all things, and that I am immersed in, that we are immersed in. So that in feeling this kinship, I have a renewed sense of reverence for all of life, my own mind, my own freedom, my own capacity to express in any which way I want. I take this seriously as I think about waking up to the possibilities of living a life that is conscious of compassion, of my power to help and change and contribute to the world. I think about this seriously as I think about living awake to what I'm responsible for and what options I have. And as I think this way, I feel myself becoming more deeply attuned to my integrity so that I, again, wake up to the possibility of being an agent for good in this world. I take it seriously. Deep gratitude wraps itself around me as I pray in this way, as we pray in this way. And a sense of relief and calm assists me in letting go of this moment of prayer and trusting the spiritual laws that govern the universe to do its work. And so it is.